Brought to you by 1AAuto.com, your source for quality parts and the best service on the internet.
Hi, I'm Mike from 1AAuto. I hope this how-to video helps you out. And next time you need parts for your vehicle, think of 1AAuto.com. Thanks.
In this video, we're going to be working with our 1998 Toyota Camry. We're going to show you how to remove and replace the rear strut assembly, which means that our new part from 1AAuto is going to come with a new strut, a new spring, and a new strut mount. What happens is over time, these wear out and sag or become soft, which can cause our vehicle to ride lower than it's designed to. We can get a softer ride or a harsher ride. We can have poor handling, some noises in the back, like some clunking over bumps, as well as having some suspension and alignment issues, which can cause odd tire wear patterns. Fortunately, this new part is much easier and safer to replace than the old style struts. If you like this video, please click subscribe. We have a ton more information on this car as well as many other makes and models. And if you want this part for your vehicle, you can follow the link down in the description and get it from 1AAuto.com. Here are the items you'll need for this repair. Grab onto the hubcap and remove it from the wheel. We're going to use a 21mm socket and breaker bar to remove all 5 lug nuts. We'll crack them loose now, raise and support the vehicle, and then finish removing the lugs. We've put our vehicle on a lift to make it easier to film for you, but this job can be easily done with a jack and jack stands. Remove the wheel and tire, remove the 12mm bolt holding the brake line in place, and the 10mm bolt holding the ABS sensor in place. We'll use a 12mm socket for the brake line and a 10mm socket for the ABS sensor. We'll remove both of these things. Careful of the brake line and the sensor. We'll remove them from the strut. Place a pair of locking pliers around the back side of the sway bar. Use a 14mm socket and ratchet to remove the nut on the other side. Remove the sway bar link and the locking pliers. Remove the 2 19mm bolts securing the bottom of the strut to the spindle with a breaker bar, 19mm socket, and a wrench. You may need to use a cheater pipe on the breaker bar to get the leverage you need to break the nut loose. Once it's loose, we can remove the rest with a socket, ratchet, and a wrench. Remove the nut and bolt. Lift up on the spindle. Remove the nut. And remove the spindle from the bottom of the strut. Find the anchor points under the seat and lift up firmly. Push the seatbelt buckles through the holes in the base of the seat cushion and remove it from the vehicle. Using a 12mm socket and ratchet, we'll remove the bottom bolt on the sides of the seat bolsters on both sides of the vehicle. And use a 12mm socket and ratchet. Fold the seat back in, pull some slack onto the seat belt, and push the bolster up to remove it. Again, we'll repeat this step on the opposite side. We'll move the seat belt out of the way, wrap it around the headrest here just to give us some room to work. Fold up this sound deadening and remove these 3 12mm bolts with a socket and ratchet. When doing this on the ground, we'll support the strut and finish removing the last nut on our strut mount inside the vehicle. Once the nut's been removed, hold the strut and remove it from the vehicle. Here we have our old strut that we removed from our Camry and our new part from 1AAuto.com. As you can see, these parts are exactly the same with the same mounting locations for the sway bar link, the ABS sensor, and the flexible brake hose. They have the same size spring as well as the same size strut tube here. These parts are directional. You can see that these are the right side. The left would be a mirror image of what we see here. These new quick struts are already assembled with a new spring and a new strut mount, meaning that it's going to eliminate any strut-related noises we're hearing and restore our vehicle to its factory ride height and original ride quality. These parts are simpler to install and eliminate the headache and hassle, as well as the need for special tools like the old struts did, where they would be replaced as a single piece as opposed to an entire assembly. So if your struts are making noise, bouncing, aren't sitting at the proper ride height, or are causing you alignment issues, these new parts from 1A Auto are going to go in direct fit, just like your original equipment, and fix you up right. Our new quick strut assembly comes with some new hardware. This hardware is 13 millimeters, so the 12 millimeters we use to remove the nuts on the top of the strut mount inside the vehicle will now be reinstalled with a 13 millimeter socket and ratchet. Insert the quick strut back into the strut tower in the rear of the vehicle. Line up the studs with the holes at the top. Once you have it lined up, push up and start a nut onto the strut mount to keep it in place. Lift up and realign the spindle into the base of the strut. Send your 19 millimeter bolts through and start the 19 millimeter nuts. Tighten the bolts down with a socket and ratchet. Torque these bolts to 83 foot-pounds. Reinstall the ABS sensor bracket and the 10 millimeter bolt. Tighten that down with the 10 millimeter socket and ratchet. Carefully bend the brake hose back into place. Reinstall the 12 millimeter bolt and tighten that down with a 12 millimeter socket and ratchet. Reinstall the sway bar link into the strut. Start the 14 millimeter nut. Clamp onto the back side of the link with your locking pliers. And tighten the nut with a 14 millimeter socket and ratchet. Reinstall the wheel and tire. Get all the lug nuts down as tight as you can by hand. Lower the vehicle carefully back onto the wheel and tire. Since we've started the nuts on our strut mount, this will push the strut fully into its position and make it easier for us to tighten down the nuts at the top. Torque the lug nuts to 76 foot-pounds in a cross pattern. Line up the notch in the hubcap over the valve stem. Tap the hubcap back into place. We'll tighten down the nuts at the top of the strut mount. Remember, the new ones are 13 millimeter. I use a 13 millimeter socket and ratchet. This spot can be pretty tight, so if you have access to gear wrenches, stubby wrenches, a short ratchet, extensions, U-joints, anything like that, do whatever you can to make it work and make these easier to access. This slot here is where we're going to install this plastic tab on the back of the side backrest. Push in and down, grab the back of the backrest and pull toward you to make sure it's locked into place. Now we'll reinstall our 12 millimeter bolt at the bottom. Reinstall the bottom seat cushion. Once you've got it laid into place, you'll have to reach through and pull the bottom of the belt buckles back in. There are 2 on the passenger side, 1 on the driver's. Slide the back of the seat into place. Line up the brackets and knock them in at the front, and you're good to go.
Thanks for tuning in. We hope this video helped you out. Next time you need parts for your car, please visit 1aauto.com. Also check out our other helpful how-to as well as diagnosis videos.